Tom Martin, and welcome to another episode of A San Francisco Conservative, the new podcast series featuring yours truly, Tom Martin. I'm a lifelong journalist. I've produced stories for CBS News, ABC News, CNN, and many other news outlets. And my co-host, the esteemed author, my friend, David Parker, joins us from San Francisco. David is the author of two excellent books, Income and Wealth and A San Francisco Conservative, and his new book of essays will be out shortly. Joining us from San Francisco. Hey, David, how are you?
Fine. Thank you, Tom. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, sir. It's interesting. I've loved the many conversations that we've had over the past few years, and I've always found it very interesting. You are a lifelong educator, 40 plus years teaching young students in the San Francisco public schools and so on. And you a very successful entrepreneur and businessman on the side, or kind of simultaneous professions, not to mention being a jazz musician there in San Francisco. And I always thought it was very interesting how you did achieve great financial success, proving that you're not limited by, the income of the public school teacher. And you said you felt compelled to go back to school to study more even after you'd become successful. And in one of your recent essays that you shared with me, and that's going to be in your forthcoming book, you talk about some of the lessons that you learned as far as the laws of economics. How did you happen to go back to school, and what did you bring from that, all of that learning that you really want to share with a wider audience?
Well, I went back to school not to learn how to make money. I wanted to learn how I made money. You can't learn that in school. That's kind of in the street, and you learn by trial and error if you're constantly paying attention. Oop, that didn't work. Oop, that didn't work. That worked. But economics books are 1,000 pages each. And then you take 10 classes, you're reading 10,000 pages. There's only 5 laws of economics I discovered that are really of any value, and that's all you have to learn. There's an economist who I like. His name is Arthur Laffer, and very young, maybe in his 20s, he created a law called the Laffer curve. He says government can tax and it'll get some revenue, but after a while, it'll get less and less revenue because people are not going to pay. You're not going to get it. So don't tax too much. And that's a famous curve called the Laffer curve. And he said once, don't take 10 classes in economics. Take economics 10 times. It's so counterintuitive that you're just wasting your time. You end up with a degree in economics and you don't know anything. And you get a master's degree, and you get a doctorate. It's of no value. All you're doing is solving little math problems and problems in statistics. But that's not economic reasoning. You're not applying that reasoning to life.
Yeah.
But grab the 5 laws and get them straight.
Yeah.
And then that's all you need.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I'm reminded. I apologize for interrupting. It's funny. I'm reminded. I know you love humor, and I forget where I first heard the expression. Maybe you know the source of this, but they said, what I'd really love to meet is a one-handed economist, because it's like on the one hand this, on the other hand that. It's like, how do you move forward with that? But you are, as I like to say, you've been in the trenches for decades, successful, very successful in real estate as an entrepreneur, as an investor, and so you're not going to just hand off a 1,000-page textbook to somebody, but you've boiled it down to 5 essential laws of economics. And I thought, we're fresh into a new year. I think when people are probably going to be listening and watching this episode, why don't we just start with law number 1? And what should people bear in mind? And it might change the way they look at the economy, their own business, or just makes a lot of sense.
Well, one law, not necessarily law number 1, but one law is the law of marginal utility. That once you have enough of something, almost like the Laffer curve, once you're getting enough income, then you can't get more. Once you've eaten 3 slices of pizza and 2 beers, and the restaurant says, here, on the house, we'll give you another pizza and a couple more beers, and you go, No, thank you. I don't want any more. I don't care if it's free. It has no more utility to me. That's one of the great discoveries of the end of the 19th century, the law of marginal utility, that value is subjective. That person at the pizza parlor doesn't want one more slice of pizza, but the person outside, a homeless person, he would love to have that slice of pizza. So value is completely subjective. And that's a law that you have to get straight, because otherwise you'll be trying to get what's due to you, or you want to catch up. Decisions are made and values determined at the moment. At the moment you had that pizza, you didn't want it anymore. 24 hours later, if you haven't eaten, you'll want that pizza. So if let's see.
Yeah, yeah. No, I definitely follow you. I just want to pause for a minute. I have a follow-up question. But again, I just want to thank everyone for joining us. If you're midstream here with us, this is a San Francisco Conservative, the new podcast series featuring me, Tom Martin, and my colleague, the great author David Parker, author of Income and Wealth and a San Francisco Conservative. And we are talking about one of the 5 essential laws of economics that David has boiled down. Instead of giving us a 1,000-page textbook on the subject, he's been out there in the trenches as an entrepreneur, as an investor. And this is the first of those 5 laws that he's sharing with us, the law of marginal utility. And David, I keep having an image flash through my mind of maybe myself in the middle of a desert somewhere, and come around across an oasis where there's plenty of water, or perhaps I'm searching for an oasis or for a simple glass of water. Certainly that water has more meaning to me, more value to me, than if there's a big truck parked out just giving away bottle after bottle, right?
That's the same example as my pizza. I'll explain that, and then I'll explain the value of my pizza story. It's called the diamond water paradox, which you're talking about. And Aristotle, 2,500 years ago, could not solve that paradox. Adam Smith, which is only 200 years ago, the great economist, could not solve that paradox. 100 years ago, it was finally solved, and its marginal utility theory is the solution, that value is subjective. In the desert, 110 degrees, your thermos is empty, and someone comes by with a canteen of water, and how much is that water worth? And the person who has the canteen says, give me that diamond give me your diamond ring. I'll give you a glass of water. That's what it's worth. It's worth a bag of diamonds. If you're home in your kitchen and the water is running in the sink, you're not give a bag of diamonds for that water. It's subjective value. It's not definite. It's not objective. So, and because it's at the moment. So if people think, should I stay in this country? Let's say you've been badly treated. Some blacks have been badly treated, and they think we are owed reparations. We are not leaving until we get our $100,000 a year or something like that to make up for what we went through. The decision is, if I leave, will I better my life somewhere else? And the answer is no. And that's why nobody leaves this country once they come, no matter how they came here. You think of it, at the moment, if I leave, my situation is not going to get better, and I'm probably never going to collect those reparations. So that's a big mistake to dwell on that subject. Marginal utility says values at the moment, and the moment is right now. Are you going to get that money? Probably not. Is life better someplace else? Probably not. Decision is over. Get on with your life. That's
yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I think I'm just curious if you have any thoughts to share with us for those of us who are business owners. I mean, my business is public relations generally, and so I work with clients doing that. Other people, any kind of business, a restaurant owner, what, especially somebody owning a retail business, perhaps, and perhaps yourself when it comes to real estate, square footage, which is a limited commodity. How can we look at the law of marginal utility in our own lives?
But I suppose value is subjective. I remember, well, just yesterday I was looking at an office building. I'm a little counter of the market. Office buildings aren't the best thing, but I'm looking at office buildings, and there's people competing for a building that I want. But I happen to own the building next door, and if I can put those two together, I have something really good. I can tear it all down and put up a Marriott hotel, or put up 500 units of housing. But the person who's, so for me, I'm willing to pay more than the other guy. It has more value to me than just the numbers. Here's the income. Well, based on the income and based on the expenses, this is what it's worth. This is what other people are paying for it. So that's completely subjective. I remember in the 2008 financial crisis, and people were still paying huge prices, even though the market had crashed for certain kinds of properties, because we have some high-rise buildings in San Francisco near the Bay Bridge, near the water, and people are paying very high prices for those condominiums. At the time, $1 million or $2 or $3 or $4 million a piece. It's how can people, and paying all cash for it and not caring what it's worth, because it turns out that tons of people have lots of money. I remember Joe Montana, the great 49er quarterback. He bought one. He didn't have financial problems. The nation's having financial problems. He didn't. Value is completely subjective. So there's 2 or 3 or 4 markets going on at any particular point, any particular moment. There's no rules about things, and you make your decisions based on your situation, not somebody else's situation, or not some rule of thumb.
Oh, yeah, no, it's interesting. I have a few friends who own art galleries in different locations around the country, and they've told me that they said there are always people who are looking to buy a painting or fine photograph or something. At the same time, some people saying, "Oh my gosh, inflation is killing me. We're headed for a recession." Those things can coexist.
Yeah, that's I love the god Shiva in India. She's not the one-handed economist. She's the 4 or 20-handed economist.
Yes, I've seen that image. Yes,
because it's there's the truth doesn't exist. It's relative. There's no objective truth. And economists and people who are very highly educated, doctors, lawyers, are not necessarily good in business, because they can always weighing one side, the other side. Gee, there's more than 2 sides. Sometimes they're weighing third side. They're weighing the fourth side.
yeah.
You can't move. You're frozen. And a business person will go, at the moment, this is the thing to do. This is the economy. This is the moment. This is what I sense. I feel that's part of my success. Or I know how I can finance this thing 100% at the moment. Maybe the bank wants to give the properties away. The mortgages are worth more than the value of the property. Every time there's an economic downturn, that's the case. The mortgages are worth more or higher than the value of the property. Why do you just take it from the bank? Just thinking like that, thinking in the moment is part of marginal. In business, that's marginal. It's applying marginal utility theory.
Excellent.
Objective value.
Excellent. Well, this has been eye-opening. I knew it would be, again, as so many of us are heading into the fresh new year, a new way of looking at things, and that we're not limited by, on the one hand, on the other hand, there are a lot more possibilities, and it's all subjective. Very, very interesting. So I want to thank everyone for joining us for this episode of A San Francisco Conservative. I highly recommend David's books, Income and Wealth and a San Francisco Conservative. You can find information for purchasing these books and read his other essays on his website, davidparkeressays.com. You can also purchase these excellent books through Amazon, amazon.com. And we'd love to hear from you. So if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, post a little comment. What are your thoughts about the topics we're discussing here? We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to include your thoughts. Or you can contact David through his website, or you can certainly find me through social media. So thank you all very much. And David, any closing thoughts you'd like to share?
Well, I always say that one reason I'm writing is I want to show the world that everything we're talking about today existed in the past. And the discussion in the past was at a higher level. We are not at a high level of civilization at this moment. And I give examples from history, and I give examples from business. The business that we're doing today is like business has always been. Those 5 laws of economics that I'm going to talk about have been applicable from day one. There's nothing new.
Was that Aristotle who said that there's nothing new under the sun? Socrates.
Well, I'm taking credit for it. I said
that. Couldn't remember. It was someone like that. But anyway, well, thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to the next episode. And I'll see you next time, David. Thank you very much.